There's a missing persons poster on every street corner.
Bruce Willis tries to talk some sense into Emile Hirsch in the based on a true story movie, Alpha Dog. I'm Richard Roeper. Filling in for Roger this week is Govindini Murthy. She's an actress, film columnist, and she's the co-founder and co-director of the Liberty Film Festival. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you for having me here.
All right, let's get right to it. First up is Alpha Dog, and here's the headline. Justin Timberlake has what it takes to be a genuine movie star. Unlike most pop stars who try to act, he actually disappears into a character. Timberlake is one of many standouts in this stylish and shocking docudrama from Nick Cassavetes. This is based on a true case. Timberlake plays Frankie, a heavily tattooed, tough-talking wannabe thug who runs with a crew who think they're the gangstas of the San Fernando Valley. Emile Hirsch plays Johnny Truelove, the charismatic weasel who leads these punks.
This is all gonna get squared away soon, I promise.
Kid's older brother owes money, and Johnny's holding him like a marker or something until he gets paid.
So you're like ransom or something. That's hot.
It's okay. It's like another story to tell my grandkids.
Stolen boy.
These trash-talking jokers dabble in dope peddling and minor crimes, but things take a dark turn when Johnny gets into a violent beef with Ben Foster's Jake. Johnny and his crew grab Jake's little brother Zach off the streets.
You can't just take a kid and have no one notice.
That's what I told you. Didn't I say that? I mean, it's a big problem, and we gotta fix it. So what do? I don't know. If we let the kid go, he runs back to Mommy and Daddy, and he rats us out.
Sharon Stone plays Zach's possessive mother. Now here Stone has one of the most impressive scenes of her career as she confronts Zach's brother.
You owe somebody money? You just tell me how much, and I will write the check.
It's not really like that, Olivia.
Really? What's it like? Tell me what it's like! Damn you! Get him back here.
Please, relax.
Get him back here to me.
Now at times, Alpha Dog teeters on the ledge between cautionary tale and exploitation. Zach is seduced by two nymphettes. Dominique Swain parades around in tiny shorts. Timberlake and the boys are constantly flexing their pecs. You wonder at some point, is this a cautionary tale or more of an advertisement for the lifestyle? This movie earns its R rating. It's dangerously close to being juvenile delinquent porn. But just when it appears Cassavetes will lose sight of the story, we do get a series of third act scenes that work like an ice-cold splash of reality. The kidnapping goes horribly wrong. Dozens of lives are ruined. So for me, thumbs up for this film.
Now, I could not disagree more, Richard. I mean, to me, this film was thumbs down because I thought it crossed the line into being basically like emotional pornography. Maybe Nick Cassavetes intended it as a cautionary tale, but for me, when you see scene after scene, as you say, of these violent, nihilistic young guys, covered, by the way, head to toe in repulsive tattoos, parading around, you know, maybe he thinks he's, you know, condemning them, but actually it implicitly condones their behavior. It glamorizes it. It's like propaganda that by relentlessly repeating, you know, the four-letter words and the endless foul language, and frankly, the really foul behavior, you know, it sort of normalizes, and I just think it's like, we have enough movies like this.
I understand what you're saying, and, you know, as I agree with a lot of that, because, yeah, I mean, you have really good-looking, talented actors, and we see a lot of them having a great time and drugging it up and having sex and all this stuff. But I do think, you know, it redeems itself because certain things happen. I mean, there is payback, and I don't think you can explore this territory without really showing it and showing why it's seductive to a lot of young people. These are at least based on true stories, and I do think they're, and I don't want to give away too much, but I mean, this is based on a true story. A lot of people know that there's a trial going on with the Johnny Truelove character. Hollywood Jesse James is his name. So, I mean, there are some real-life parallels. And another thing I think this movie does a good job of is showing these irresponsible parents. There's a reason why these kids are running free and going crazy, because their parents are drugged up and they don't care.
Yeah, I mean, it's a cautionary tale, but why is a movie made about some low-life drug dealer pimp? Why not make a movie about maybe some young heroic guy who goes to Iraq and gives his life to protect his country?
I mean, you know,
why do we have that story? Nobody ever shows that.
But for this movie, I think it works better than you do.
All right, well, look, we'll disagree on that, but I think we'll have fun with the next one.
Okay.
Our next movie is Arthur and the Invisibles. It's an innovative children's film from French director Luc Besson about a boy who's transported into a magical world when he tries to save his grandfather's home from being plowed under by an evil real estate developer. The film is a combination of live action and animation and features winning performances from Mia Farrow and newcomer Freddie Highmore.
Who's this? This is the Princess Selenia. The king himself gave your grandfather the secret of how to find him anytime he wanted. This is incredible. I could tell you stories all night long. Right. Tell me.
Through pluck and ingenuity, Arthur enters the magical land where his grandfather has hidden a secret treasure.
It's incredible.
Now, though you won't necessarily see it in this clip, the one sour note in this film is that the villain and his dastardly son are obvious caricatures of George Bush Sr. and Jr.
I promised you riches and power, and Malthazar always keeps his promises. Nothing can stop us now. The 7 kingdoms are mine. I mean, of course, ours.
I was really enjoying this film until the villain shows up looking like a horrible caricature of George Bush Sr. and saying lines like, "Read my lips." It really took me out of the film, and I wish that filmmakers today would just stick to entertaining people and leave out the gratuitous political jabs. The animation, acting, and cinematic craft of Arthur and the Invisibles are very high quality, though. So, though I was disappointed by the unnecessary partisan politics, I do give this a qualified thumbs up.
Well, I mean, you know, there have been movies that have taken shots at George. There was a terrible movie last year called American Dreams where there was a caricature of a George Bush character. I thought it was unnecessary.
Yeah.
There are movies like Wag the Dog and Primary Colors that obviously were lampooning Bill Clinton. If the filmmaker wants to do that, that's fine with me. I'm still giving this movie thumbs down, though. Parts of it I thought were interesting. I think it might be a good rental for parents with their kids, but it's just so strange and kind of meandering, and the animation I thought was a little clunky compared to like the Pixar stuff we see these days. And also because I think this was filmed originally with French voiceovers, that the dubbing is a little bit off and out of sync, so you see these characters mouthing French, and so it kind of reminded me of like a badly dubbed live action film. So, I mean, it's not a bad film, a lot of creativity, but I'm giving it kind of a marginal thumbs down.
It's a fun animated children's film. I really thought it was very well done. I love Mia Farrow as the grandmother, and Freddie Highmore's little kid is very charming.
Yeah.
But it just was so jarring when that other note came in of suddenly you've got George Bush Jr. and Sr. and they're like horrible lizard guys with horns and scales, and is that the vision that Luc Besson has of people who maybe have different politics from him?
Well,
I mean, do we have to have that?
maybe he does, but I think there are bigger problems with this movie, mainly the dubbing and the strange animation. As I said, it's not bad. It's marginal. I would say to parents, you know, if they want something for the kids, wait for it to come out on video. I don't know if it's worth a trip to the theater.
Oh, yes, interesting.
Okay, later in the show, is Jennifer Garner the next Julia Roberts? We'll find out in Catch and Release. And next, Pierce Brosnan and Liam Neeson star in Seraphim Falls.
Up here, a man without a horse is generally a dead man.
I reckon so.
So I don't take kindly to a man trying to steal mine.
Like I told you, girl, I'll pay for the horse.
Seraphim Falls opens with a 19th century fur trapper who's shot in the shoulder by an unseen sniper. As the bearded, grizzled man reels in pain and struggles to escape, it takes a while to realize this is Pierce Brosnan. The former Bond gives one of the most intense and memorable performances of his career as Gideon. He's a former Civil War officer with a mysterious past. Fellow Irish actor Liam Neeson plays Carver, the leader of the posse hunting down Gideon.
Man, we're after preys on the weak and unprepared. I'd advise you to take this as a warning.
Well, what if we just decided to take that as our walking papers?
You are, of course, free to do that, Mr. Hayes. You will, however, do it without the assistance of my horse on which you sit.
Seraphim Falls gets a little too symbolic and preachy for its own good when a snake oil peddler shows up out of nowhere, literally out of nowhere, on a salt flat in the desert.
Man could die out here if he's not careful.
I didn't see you come up.
That's because you keep looking behind you. Perhaps you'd be interested in a little ration of Madame Louise's cure-all.
Who is that woman? Is she the devil? Is she a hallucination? I mean, I know she's Angelica Houston, but what is she doing out there? I have to say I was a little disappointed and perplexed by the last 15 minutes of this film, but I'm still giving it a strong recommendation. Even though Brosnan and Neeson share very little screen time, they managed to create a kind of parallel chemistry in their alternating scenes. And though the chase threatens to go on too long, the suspense remains high because we don't know which man is the real villain or if there's really a villain at all. Brosnan, in particular, I thought, shines in a role that Clint Eastwood would have nailed in the 70s. Big thumbs up for me.
You know, I appreciate what you say. I only give this a moderate thumbs up because to me the chase scenes really lag and the movie is a little too postmodern for its own good. I know it's definitely an homage to John Ford's The Searchers, which is one of my favorite films. It's set, this is set right after the Civil War. It's about two men on a quest for revenge, but you don't have enough character in the first 2/3 of the film, and they don't develop the intervening vignettes enough, and there's no humor. There's no humor, there's no warmth. I found it kind of
I think there's a little
empty,
humor.
a little empty.
I would say there's a little humor. I get what you're saying. I think, you know, The Searchers, I think Outlaw Josie Wales. There are, you know, some great westerns that they're drawing on here. And I would agree with you. I mean, it's a tricky thing because they want to keep the suspense way up here because we really don't know who's the good guy, who's the bad guy.
Yeah.
But then you have to sacrifice some character development because we're like, well, then who are these guys and should we care about them? So
Yeah.
it's a tricky balance. I think it might have benefited maybe from about 10 minutes chopped out of the middle.
Yeah.
Because the chase does go on forever. But, you know, the actors in particular, I think, were excellent here.
Well, they're very fine actors, and I really love Liam Neeson. If you're going to have two characters go for so long not knowing who they are or what their story is, you need to have those vignettes be a lot livelier when they come across the band of missionaries or when they come across the camp building the railroad.
I know what you're saying. I mean, I think some of those vignettes were done better than others. The railroad sequence I thought was very well done. The stuff with the preacher I thought was kind of over the top and meandering. And I guess there was a point where they probably thought, okay, what are we going to do here to keep the suspense going? We have to have these little sidebars. But I think that the core here is a really strong story.
Well, I appreciate the effort and what they tried to do. I like the Western setting, beautiful scenery, and, you know, they were attempting something interesting, so I give it a moderate.
Still giving it a thumbs.
Yeah, you know, humor though, humor. We need humor.
You want more chuckles in your revenge killer westerns. Okay, fair enough.
Bring it up a bit. All right, coming up next, an early review of Jennifer Garner and Kevin Smith in Catch and Release.
You think I wanted to be here with you? You need me. I'm your friend.
Looking at movies now in theaters, which I reviewed with New York Times film critic Tony Scott, all getting 2 thumbs up. Dame Judi Dench and Kate Blanchett in Notes on a Scandal. Guillermo del Toro's Pan's Labyrinth, and Edward Norton and Naomi Watts in The Painted Veil.
Our next movie, Catch and Release, is an unusual romantic comedy starring Jennifer Garner as a woman who must come to terms with the death of her fiancé right before their wedding day. It sounds like a depressing premise, but with heartfelt, funny writing and a terrific supporting cast, including Kevin Smith, Timothy Olyphant, and Juliette Lewis, the movie really works. What's most touching about this film is how much the characters value their friendships with each other. When Jennifer Garner finds out disturbing information about her fiancé's past, including the fact that he had over $1 million in a secret account, her friends rush to offer an innocent explanation.
Yes. Picture this. You guys are on the honeymoon, okay? And you're falling asleep in one another's arms, cozying up to you. And he's like, Gigi, remember the part of the vows where we said for richer or for poorer? We're the former!
Garner finds out that her fiancé's best friend, a slick LA director played by Timothy Olyphant, is a better guy than he seems and falls in love with him.
No sleeping with a guy until you knew his mother's maiden name.
What?
We figured it would keep us out of beds of men we barely knew.
Gideon. Anything else you want to know?
What I liked most about Catch and Release was the honest, hopeful, and humorous way in which the characters overcome tragedy in their lives. The lack of cynicism in this film is refreshing. Writer-director Susanna Grant walks a fine line between comedy and drama in her directorial debut, and she pulls it off beautifully.
Also, I can put my whole fist in my mouth. You don't want to see it. It's a little Tracy Lords, but I never told him that either. 6 years. Also, I made it with a girl once. Ha!
It's nice to see a good film for women. Hollywood used to make outstanding women's films in the 1930s and 40s, and I've never understood why we don't have more good films for women today. With excellent writing, acting, and direction, Catch and Release is a film that both women and men can enjoy, and I give it a strong thumbs up.
Well, I'm glad you turned to me when you said men, because that works out well. I would agree with you here. Now, I'll let you in on a little insight. You know, critics always like to say, well, we go into every movie with the equal open mind. The truth is, I looked at the trailers for this and I thought, oh, another romantic comedy. But I was pleasantly surprised. I liked it a lot, and I agree with you completely. For one thing, it's nice to see a movie where pretty much everybody's a decent person. They're all flawed, but it's pretty much like real life. Your friends aren't jerks. And Timothy Olyphant, who I think should be a big star. I've liked him. He's in Deadwood. I've liked him ever since a movie called Go. I thought he was excellent. Jennifer Garner is, in Julia Roberts territory and winning and nice and funny and smart and vulnerable and all that. And there are some neat little turns and twists. And Kevin Smith, who's hilarious. I think he's probably picked up some humor tips from sitting in that chair a couple of times. So he's coming along okay. But I really, really like this film.
Yeah, and you know what? I think Jennifer Garner is better than Julia Roberts. I really like her more. I think I found her very warm and sweet and engaging and intelligent and a decent person. That's why I like this film so much, where the people, as you say, are flawed but decent, whereas I really disliked Alpha Dog because everybody is just all cynical and horrible and nihilistic and violent, whereas this was like real flawed people, real human beings, but with really hope and what I loved was their love for each other.
Well, I mean, obviously you can make great films about terrible people, but in this case, if it's going to be in this territory, I just like that we didn't have just the obvious things. Juliette Lewis' characters comes in and you think, okay, she's just going to be another bimbo. No, there's a twist there. Or the evil mother-in-law who turns out to have, you know, some interesting quirks to her personality. So, I mean, you know, excellent writing, and I thought the cast really just brought this home.
Yeah, and good for Susanna Grant. Isn't it nice?
Yeah.
I mean, as a woman, I'm proud of her. You know, I'm proud of her. It's good work.
As a man, I admire her, so there you have it. Okay. Here's a movie I'm probably not going to use the word admire at all at any point here. The movie's called Alone with Her, and it may well be the first movie shot entirely in Pervo vision. Every single scene in this movie is shown through the eyes, or should I say the multiple hidden camera lenses of a creepy stalker named Doug. He's played by Colin Hanks. For reasons lamely explained near the end of the film, Doug fixates on the lovely young Amy, played by Anna Claudia Talencon. You can almost feel his sweaty palms on the camera as he focuses on her. After installing about a dozen cameras in every inch of Amy's apartment, Doug learns all about Amy's favorite things. Wearing a hidden camera, he accidentally, on purpose, bumps into her in a coffee shop.
There's this band that I just discovered a few weeks ago. They're really good. They're kind of obscure. They're called Skinny.
Shut up.
What?
I love them.
Amy's instincts tell her there's something off about this guy. Gee, I wonder why. Alone with Her opens with a graphic telling us that every minute 3 people become victims of stalking in the United States. Okay, maybe, maybe not, I don't know. Not to minimize a genuine problem, but I doubt that most of these 1.6 million victims are stalked by guys who have a more sophisticated camera setup than the set of Big Brother. Even at 78 minutes, Alone with Her plays like an extended voyeur video with nothing new to say about hidden cameras or stalkers or anything. That's a big thumbs down for me.
Big thumbs down from me, too. I mean, what was Colin Hanks thinking? Poor guy. I know he wants to do something edgy and different, but this was really just, this movie was a disaster, just exploitation. And frankly, the whole thing of voyeurism, you know what, guys? Voyeurism per se is not that interesting. If it's banal people, you know, surveilling other banal people doing banal things, it just makes for a banal and boring movie.
Bad movie. Next week, New York Times film critic A.O. Scott and I will reveal our picks for the best movies of the year.
This week's Thumbs Up videos are brought to you by Raisinets. Make a deliciously smart choice with Raisinets.
He's a legend. He's got something like 200 saves. He's such a stud. What's he doing here?
Looking at movies new on DVD this Tuesday, Ashton Kutcher and Kevin Costner in The Guardian, which got a big thumbs down. Maggie Gyllenhaal and Sherry Baby, great performance, thumbs up. And the documentary Jesus Camp, which also got a thumbs up. And I also want to recommend The Illusionist with great performances from Edward Norton and Paul Giamatti and good work by Jessica Biel. And a documentary called No Limit, which has an inside, interesting, insightful look into the poker craze. And it's kind of interesting because the filmmakers actually put up their own money and enter tournaments, and you see the whole dynamic and the psychology of when you win, it's great. When you lose, you make excuses. So it's a neat little documentary.
Well, my thumbs up video picks are from Criterion, which is releasing a wonderful 2-DVD set of Akira Kurosawa's classic samurai films, Yojimbo and Sanjuro. These luminous black and white Japanese masterpieces were inspired by Kurosawa's love of the American Western. And it's wonderful to see how Kurosawa takes the Western, as pioneered by John Ford and John Wayne, and sets it in feudal Japan. The films also feature iconic performances by one of my favorite actors, the gritty and intense Toshiro Mifune, a must-see for any lover of classic foreign cinema.
So The Illusionist and No Limit are available now, and Criterion's Yojimbo and Sanjuro, 2 films by Akira Kurosawa, will be available on Tuesday. We'll be back to recap this week's show right after this.
Closed captioning for Ebert and Roeper is sponsored by...
Okay, recapping the movies on this week's show. We split on Alpha Dog. We split again on Arthur and the Invisibles. 2 thumbs up for Seraphim Falls. It opens next week. 2 thumbs up for Catch and Release. It also opens next week. And 2 thumbs down, way down for Alone with Her. And Govindini, thank you so much for joining me. I had a blast talking movies with you.
Well, thank you so much. It was great to be here, and I know it was a life-changing experience for you.
Well, it was an experience, I'll say that much at least. You know, I also want to just mention, I want to thank the viewers who continue to write to me and ask me about Roger. He continues to recover. We miss him. I do appreciate all the words of concern, and I know Roger does as well. That's it for this week's show. Until next week, the balcony is closed.
Gentle enough for the tenderest lips. New Gentle Scents. Serious moisturization. Hypoallergenic. Discover Blistex. Discover what your lips are missing.
If you have a cold and high blood pressure, you should know decongestants can raise your blood pressure. Take decongestant-free Corsetin HBP. Powerful relief that won't raise your blood pressure.
There's like all the loops and stuff.
Kissimmee. Make more dreams come true.
Kissimmee, Kissimmee, Kissimmee. Oh, water.
More people are starting their day with new Plum Smart from Sunsweet.
I'm starting.
Plum Smart has fiber and nutrients to help keep your digestive system healthy and in balance. Start smart with Plum Smart.